And we're back here at Boom and Bust. I'm your host, as always, Tony Clement, here with Thomas Caldwell. He is the chairman and CEO of Caldwell Securities. Tom, I'm again reading from headlines. Love to get your take on it because you're right in the thick of things. Lumber prices crashed 70% from their record highs. Maybe this is going to this question of volatility and inflation and so forth, but that's what everybody was talking about. We talked about it on this show with you a few months ago, but now they've been reduced by about 70%. So is that an indicator of anything, some return to sanity in terms of commodities? What's your take on it?
Not necessarily. Within the pricing of any commodity, you have the real users, the people who use the product, the home builders, et cetera. So you have the industrial usage, and then you have the speculative trading community influence on the market. So they'll build positions, go long, go short, and that's supposed to even out the bumps. I think these days it's sort of adding to the bumps. You had a tremendous building boom occurring in the States on the basis of low interest rates. And then, of course, our American cousins, even though lumber prices are going through the ceiling, immediately slap a duty on Canadian softwood lumber. Right. And that's been going on for Tony, since, gosh, when you were in Parliament, so yep. 15, 20 years. And because our American cousins have this view that if you're beating them at a game, you must be cheating, because being superior, you couldn't win unless you were cheating. There's a logic to this. So I think our American cousins have cut off the border a little bit there. That demand has eased off south of the border. So it does leave us with inventories where the Canadian housing market is nowhere near as large. So there's these other components to it. Aside from the basic demand to build houses, there is the political influence either way that shuts off major buyers from Canadian lumber. And also you have the fact that we may have slowed down a little bit in Canada and done it. So the swings become amplified with the speculators over and above the commodity users. So I think it's more of that than a fundamental change that we're seeing. You may see lumber prices bounce back a little bit from this. So it's more of a swing, in my opinion.
Since you've raised it, and it's a very important point to raise, and we do on this show with you, do come back to this issue because it's so important, but obviously the Canada-US trade relations is just so important to this country. I guess I've got a series of questions on that. The first one is, are you seeing a bounce back in the US economy?
Yes. It's picking up on a fairly wide scale wherever they've started to open. So it is going on fairly well. And there is inflationary pressures that is also pushing it. So the US economy is improving. I don't know what the rate is, and they don't know what the real rate is. It's a bounce back right now. So we are seeing growth. And
how will that impact Canada and Canadians? Because the border's still closed, at least from the US point of view. We just, as we record this broadcast, the U.S. announced that they're continuing for an extra month, the border closures at least. So it's kind of hard to see sometimes how Canadians can continue to grow the market in the U.S.
I think Canada has a huge problem coming at it, and our politicians in Ottawa are not addressing it. Americans are protectionists, make no mistake about it. They talk about, free trade and everything. That's as long as they're winning at it. They are protectionist. And number two, they have no special interest in us, and we are no special friend of theirs. They see us as the enemy, just like anybody else when it comes to trade. So Canada, we have for a long time lived off the fact that we are suppliers of raw materials, whether it be to the US or to China, energy, food, lumber, etc. When they don't need it, we've got a problem. We have lived off that far too long. We have lacked any coherent industrial policies or technology policies that build the country in a widening out of our foreign exchange generation capabilities and employment capabilities. We've been lazy, and our leaders have been lazy. And if you look at the Canadian dollar now, down under 80 cents, right, it is purely a function of the price of oil. Canada is seen as a petrocurrency. So if oil prices collapse, the Canadian dollar is collapsing with all that entails. So remember, we're dealing with protectionists. We haven't developed our economy And we've had 100+ years to do it. We get involved in side issues that are not relevant to future generations' prosperity.
We're having this conversation with Thomas Caldwell of Caldwell Securities about the state of our economy, and now we're into Canada-US trade relations as well. We're going to continue the discussion with one last segment. Please stay with us.